My name is Maria Bevere, and I am the Minnesota PTA Grants volunteer. So I welcome you to this webinar about grants. And what we're talking about is National PTA offering grants for PTAs throughout the nation. And we as Minnesota PTA want to let you know about what National PTA has available. So the grant deadline for application is October 4th at midnight Eastern time. So that gives you a little bit of leeway being here in Central Time Zone. Last year, there were $650,000 available to local PTA units. And this year, there's over $1 million available for funding PTAs. So we're really excited about this opportunity, and I like the way that PTA is scaffolded so that we as local parents at an elementary school, middle school, or high school don't need to go to companies to try to get money for supporting our causes, but National PTA does that, and then we can apply for these grants from National PTA, and we have a really good chance of receiving them. So I welcome you to apply. So continuing on, the way that the grants work is that the awards are announced in November, and then in January, the funding is provided. So at the beginning of the year here, you're applying, thinking about what your PTA needs, and then throughout the year, you're doing that program, providing the services to your community, using the grant money, and then at the end of the year, you're reflecting on it. A lot of these grants end in May of 2025, and throughout that whole time between now and then, National PTA has staff that provide opportunities for you to connect with other PTA leaders and learn more about how to implement a grant in the most effective way possible. Oh, and there's a required survey at the end as well, which I found very easy to do when we led a grant program. The whole process, they walked us through it, and I was very grateful for that. However, it did take a bit of a team and a bit of a jump start at the beginning. So there are some requirements if you do receive a grant. You must attend a December 3rd training webinar with National PTA. You must sign an agreement by December 5th saying that you're going to use this money according to the rules of the program. Your PTA has to be in good standing, and this is a piece that Amber and I at Minnesota PTA can help you with. Being a PTA in good standing means that you have your standing rules voted on by members and submitted to Amber at the office of Minnesota PTA. You have your 990 and tax filing up to date. You have 25 plus members and their dues submitted to Minnesota PTA. And some of these things are hard to get done by at the October 4th deadline, but we can look at past years and help you to have those dues submitted in time. And you also need to have your board members with their names and contact information in the givebacks database so that Minnesota PTA can see that. And you also need to have a PTA bank account for your PTA so that the money can be deposited and used by your board. So now I want to go through a little bit of what the grants are, because this is exciting. The grants are used to, like, anybody can run a National PTA program like Reflections or some of the other Healthy Minds that you've heard of before, but the grants are a nice opportunity to have a little bit of extra money to provide the programming to more people, so make it more accessible. So the first grant I want to talk about is a Healthy Minds grant, and this is for all ages. So regardless of what school you're at, you can apply for a Healthy Minds grant that is about connecting schools with mental health resources. So when I was looking at this huge list of grants, it's not that huge this year, but I was thinking about what my school needed and going from there and reading through and thinking, oh, if my school needs this, then this grant kind of connects with it. The second one is a Reflections grant. And there's two of these grants available. So you can also kind of look at what are the chances that I would get that one. But the Reflections programming helps students develop their own thought, feelings, and ideas, and develop artistic literacy. It provides an opportunity for new pathways for at-risk, underserved students to access arts education. And all of these programs have such great values that I totally recommend you looking into them because they provide details for how to really live out the values of PTA. And I said that there were only 2 Reflections grants, but I didn't say yet that you can apply for more than 1 grant. And let's say you applied last year for the Reflections grant. This year you can apply for the Reflections grant as well. In the end, you will only be eligible for the 1 grant to receive it, but because no grant writing experience is required and the grants aren't super hard to apply for, I would also recommend applying for more than 1 if you have that ability. The next type of grant I want to mention is also for all ages. It's Healthy Lifestyles. And so you would host a PTA wellness fair. And I actually did this, and I found that the most important tidbit that I learned was that partnering with a community organization is super helpful. And this is a grant that's hosted by Walmart, or it's sponsored by Walmart. So you could especially look for volunteers or extra donations from Walmart. We partnered with a local clinic that is located in one of the schools in our neighborhood and found their support super invaluable and a really great experience to meet these other people who are so invested in healthy lifestyles. At our wellness fair, I'll just say too, we gave away bike helmets. We had a little bike obstacle course. We had a vaccine clinic because this was a COVID relief grant. And we also provided food. Another all ages grant is called Smart Talk. So this would help you run a program that would promote digital safety, answer questions, encourage family discussions. And it's something that you would create a single event by March 31st to fulfill that program. And at an event of any of these, you would probably be funding things like transportation or translation services, if those are things that would make this more accessible to more people in your community. Another grant is for just the elementary schools. It's called Ready Tech Go, and they had this last year, and it is about screen readiness. So it is a quiz that families can take to kind of help them decide if their child's ready for a phone, for example. It's an interactive tool. So you could use those resources to create a program and promote that at your school. There's actually 40 grants available for this next one. It's called STEM, which is, oh, now I'm gonna feel on the spot. Science, technology, engineering, and mechanics, Amber? Do you know?
I think it's math.
It's math.
Oh, good job.
Math.
Thank you, everybody. So
You did good.
I got really close. So we're demystifying engineering with this grant and creating fun, easy activities. Again, this is the elementary school level for families to do together. We've hosted a STEM fair at our school before, and in partnership with an organization that came in, and it was really well attended. Families enjoyed it, students enjoyed it, and I don't know that there was a ton of work that needed to go into preparing for it, although I'm sure the one main organizer would argue with me. But that grant's about families propelling our world is the name of it. If you're a middle school family, you may want to consider applying for one of the 55 Be Internet Awesome grants. It's about learning and exploring online. LEO, Learning and Exploring Online. It's about providing a virtual training session and creating parent peer-to-peer conversation to help people learn about digital safety. I think I've been to one of these events before at a middle school and found that it's so important. It's so helpful to listen to and talk to other parents to kind of understand why and how it's working well for them and how to like live out these principles in reality. We have 2 more grants that I want to talk about. We're at the middle and high school level now, and there's 15 grants about tobacco prevention campaign. So this grant, you would do a program between March 18th and April 15th as part of Take Down Tobacco National Day of Action, which is April 1st. So they provide education and resources, and you would share that with your community. Another one, there are 25 called Build Up and Belong. This is for the middle and high school still. And it's about belonging and increasing communication in the digital world. So they're encouraging interactive discussion with teens, information and resources for various digital platforms. And then there is a state grant this year, which is the first time they've had one that we could apply for at the state level, where you would identify and engage at least 4 high schools or equivalent to participate in this program. And when you apply for a grant, so it's pta.org/grants, and there's a grant portal there, and you can work with another person. So you, as the member of your PTA board, you'd go to your board and say, I would like to apply for this grant, and you get their approval as an interest thing. Then you would create an account on this grant portal on National PTA website. And once you've started that application, you can invite other people to collaborate with you. This I didn't do right away. Actually, I was invited by someone else, and I found it super helpful to have all of her information already in there, and then I added to it. So our application was able to go through, like her child graduated from elementary school, and I continued the grant process. Ours was about getting books for social emotional learning into classroom libraries. So you apply for a grant on this grant portal, and it's not very hard, and you can save your progress and log out and come back later, and you can do it. And I support you in applying for a grant through National PTA by October 4th. Yes, all the grants use that same process. So there's one portal for all the grants. So on the national, I told you pta.org/grants, there's little tabs within almost, so you can see what level age group you are, and then you can see which grants are available at that level, and then you can learn more about that grant. When you learn more about the grant, then you're able to write your application with a little bit of nuance to what that grant is. So I think that can be helpful so that they know, the people who are reading these grants, which are also volunteers and staff at National PTA, we're very aware that we're all volunteers. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking for people who can use the money to make sure that more PTA families can access the programming that we're providing. Lauren, thank you for the question about the grant portal and how to walk through that. There is a very nice video on the National PTA website about the grants, and I found it and I was watching it and I was like, oh, this would be great for you all to know about.
And Maria, just for everyone else's sake too, we have last year's applying for grants webinar on our YouTube channel, and I'll put that link in chat for everyone.
Yeah, so last year I did the similar webinar, and I had slides, I think, and I had a guest speaker, and we really went into detail about what the grant was that we had applied for and how that had gone for our PTA. I think we started with 4 board members who were, 2 of which didn't have a ton of time, and 2 of us who had some extra time to work on this, and we were able to do the whole grant process pretty easily with the support of these other two board members, and then reaching out to our volunteers. Just to clarify, Gabby's asking if when we apply for more than one grant, would you be eligible to win multiple grants? No. So each year, each PTA is eligible to win one grant. And each of them, I want to say, is about $1,200, but you can see the details on the grants website.
But can we apply to multiple?
Yes.
Okay.
Good question. Thank you. I know last year we had I think fewer than this people on the call, because we had two different webinars, one at noon and one at 7. And then we had about 6 to 9 PTAs receive grants in Minnesota last year. And with more grants available and more funding available this year, I think your chances are very good. And I welcome you to apply. Now I'm feeling interested to apply because my child's in middle school and I saw there were some good ones. So I have been in conversation with a person from Magus and Quinn Booksellers, and he's very passionate about getting authors to visit schools. He's noticed that there's a lot of people who speak Spanish in schools now, and has worked to get books into their classroom libraries that have the Spanish language in them. And so this is James Weber in Minneapolis at 3038 Hennepin Avenue South. And he's really interested in local schools being able to bring authors into their classrooms and to partner with them, because once the students have the books in their hands and the visual to be able to see an author, that can be a really meaningful experience for children. And I was looking at a couple of the elementary school grants. I was thinking that there's the Reflections grant, which is an art-based one, could relate well with an illustrator coming in, or a social emotional learning grant with the all ages one, the Healthy Minds, I was thinking could relate to this, and he'd be interested in partnering with any of you to get an author visit lined up. I think the cost of it would be to make sure that 20 to 30 students purchase books, but I would argue that the grant money or the PTA could purchase those books to not put pressure on families to need to buy the book.
There is a question that came directly to me, so I'll just read this for you. Is it possible to get more info about James and his program? Lowell is a language immersion school.
Yeah, and where is that one located? Do we know?
Okay, that's Duluth. Yeah, so this is the Duluth Lowell.
Yeah, Lowell is up in Duluth, Minnesota, and we're a language immersion. And so I guess I'd be more interested in more information on the James Weber and what he has to offer. I know that we do cater to a lot of the immersion, and we're a really big advocate for reading, and teachers are on board. So really, honestly, anything would be great.
Yeah, that's the first way I got into the grant world was, oh, I love books, and I love that I want kids to have the most updated and meaningful books for the time and place that they're in. And if those language books are really needed, I feel like you could totally write something for the grant that would allow you to do that, at least in part. I don't know what his reach is to Duluth, but I feel like people drive to Duluth all the time, and he'd be a great resource. So I'd love to put you two in touch, and maybe sending me an email. My email is mariab@mnpta.org, and I can forward you James Weber's information. Yeah, I was excited when I received an email based on my email address being on the internet, and hearing that other people are wanting to connect with PTAs and have the time to do that. I think that's so great, because so many of us are short on time and energy. So hence this webinar not being planned to be an hour. I thought that would be fine for you all to receive this little bit of intro from me and then go check out more from that PTA website and feel empowered to connect back with your PTA board and your PTA members to apply for a grant.
Thank you for taking the time and sharing all this information. I know I'm new to the PTA organization as a chair member, or at least the board members. So it can be a little overwhelming when you're getting into it.
Yes, and so I hear you. There's a lot of words on those websites, and I found it incredibly difficult to find which grants I was eligible for. It's like, I know I'm in elementary, but which of these grants are for elementary? And I feel like now they have it color coded a little bit more, but I like that we have this program for us to be able to share a little bit more directly with you.
It's very nice and greatly appreciated. All of these webinars have been extremely helpful, so we
Great.
greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for your volunteerism.